Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And today I would like to offer the elemental energy sign reading for the elemental energy of air, which covers the zodiac signs of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So if you are Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, or you have air very high up in your birth charts, then this reading's for you. If not, you still may get something out of it just because the messages that come through are timeless. This is for May of 2023, but if you hear it at a later time, then you can still get information out of it that will be beneficial. I read week by week for the month, and there's 4.5 weeks, so we'll do a total of 5 weeks out. I also read Guide or Guardian, which is an energy angel. This time we're doing angels or something along those lines that's coming in that week to help. There's a message from Source, which is a supporting message, and then there's a lesson or a challenge from the tarot, which is either something to work on that week or something that might be coming in that week that might be a little bit of a hiccup somewhere along the lines. But the readings tend to be really positive and supportive, and that's what my intention is when I start these. So, if you are an air sign, this is for you, and like I said, if you watch this otherwise, you'll still probably get something out of it. All of the decks I'm using are linked in the description below, and with that, we'll get started with your first week of May 2023. Guide or Guardian is the Joy and Contentment group of angels. So this first week is really about finding your peace. But when you find peace or your contentment, you're going to tap into that joy that's there, because as you find peace and find balance, you realize that the outside world only affects you if you allow it to affect you. So you can actually find joy in a lot of different trials. You can find peace even when the world is falling apart, because even if your world's not, the rest of the world seems to be wanting to head that way. But this first week's energy angels that are coming in are really saying, find that peace, find that joy, find that contentment. We all want more of just anything: food, house, job, car, whatever. But when we're content where we are, it triggers gratitude, and that gratitude for where we're at allows us to expand our intentions, our visions to the next level. Trust me, there's always going to be enough, no matter what, the rest of the outside world wants to tell you. There's always enough there. It's whether or not we choose to allow ourselves to see it. So your message from Source is many masks the authentic self. And that ties into the joy and contentment, because as you become more peaceful, as you can become more content with where you're at, you start to peel away these egoic masks. We all have them. It's not like there's something specific that you're not supposed to be doing or having. We all have the ego masks. Like when you go to work, you put on the work mask, and when you come home, you put on the home mask, and when you're by yourself, you take all the masks off and you just kind of So what this is talking about is understanding the authentic you behind all of that. And when you find that peace and contentment, you tap more into that inner child, that deeper aspect of you. And that allows you to see the masks. Like, okay, I know when I'm at work, this is what I do. I know when I'm with this group of friends, this is the mask I put on. And as you acknowledge these different masks, you can tap into a better way to separate them, control them, but you also know who you are. There, like the old saying on the temple at Delphi, I believe, or the Oracle of Delphi, know thyself. That is the key to everything. And how to do that, how to get to that authentic self, is to understand when you're putting a mask up and when you're not. When you need the mask for social situations, or when you can be alone quietly in a meditative state and peel those masks away, getting back into that inner child. So this first week's guide is joy and contentment, helping you find peace and understanding where you're at in life. And the reason for that is the message from Source, understanding the authentic self and knowing when to take those masks and set them aside. Your lesson or challenge from the tarot is the Four of Summer, being distracted and failing to see a magical opportunity, taking someone or something for granted, discontentment with life. So what we're working with is, as you're going through this month, or this week I should say, you're understanding where you're at. You're understanding yourself. It's being kind of brought into more of an aligned state. Your lesson or your challenge is not to be distracted. You're working on spiritual development. You're working on understanding who you are better to help ground some of those more flighty thought patterns and feelings and hobbies where you start one and then start another and start another. You're trying to ground that in when you find your authentic self. You're by finding your peace and your contentment. But the Four of Summer is saying sometimes when you're doing this type of work, the outside world gets really distracting all of a sudden. And it's because the world around you might be a little bit more chaotic, and they don't want you to ground. They don't want you to understand who you are. Because when you understand who you are, it frees you from their control. It frees you from their patterns. And so it's really important this first week to really take the time to understand yourself. Take the quiet time, whenever you can find it, to do that so that you can get away from the distractions of the outside world so that you can understand yourself a little bit better. And your second week's guide or guardian is listen deeply. So during the first week, it was tapping into your joy, tapping into your peace, contentment in the deeper aspects of yourself. The second week is when you do that, you actually learn to communicate on a different level, which with air energy is all about communication. So this is a way to take that to the next stage. You listen to words, you maybe watch some body language, but when you listen deeply, you're not listening to the person's words. You're not listening to just their body language. You're listening with your heart. You're listening with your third eye, your kind of telepathic, intuitive ways of listening. And when you do that, it allows you to understand the other person at a much deeper level. That might be talking at the surface level, something very superficial. I had a really rough week at work. I barked at my kids when I came home because of work, and this because of work, and this because of work. But as you're listening to them, you're starting to understand that they're actually struggling with something else. Or they might be really flippant about something that kind of fell apart, like an art project that didn't turn out quite right, but deep down you can sense or hear something else is going on. And that's that listening deeply. And sometimes people try to hide their successes, which I don't fully understand, but I have met people who do this, where something good happens and they play it off like, oh, no, it's fine. But when you listen deeply, you can hear that they actually are excited about that, but they don't want to overshare. They don't want to be over exuberant. And in those situations, prod them. Get them to be over exuberant. Any success is a good success, and that's all right to be happy about it in the moment. So listening deeply is a healing thing that the air energy in particular, because it's a communication thing, is really powerful with. So let's look at your message from Source. It's joyful muse and inspiration. So your message from Source is saying that as you're going through, you're learning to listen deeper, you yourself will start to tap into this muse, this inspiring way of living, because other people are going to see you living from your first week, the more authentic you, that part of you that's more who you are. And when you tap into that, it changes an outward view of you. Whether people realize it or not, you really do change when you tap into the more authentic part. People are drawn to something that is truthful, something that is grounded, something that is stable. They see your peace and they want to know how you did it. They may not say that so much. That's where listen deeply comes in, so you can understand when they're saying things. And you don't have to go metaphysical. You can be very down to earth, just, oh, I started a new exercise routine, or however it comes through in the communication. But you are going to be the joyful muse. You are going to be the inspiration. You're going to work towards inspiring yourself, because by being authentic, you understand yourself better. But you're also going to, by living that more authentic life, you will inspire others. So let's look at what your lesson or challenge from the tarot is for this second week of May 2023. And we have the Two of Winter. Indecision is holding you back. Make the choice that's best for you rather than trying to please others, feeling trapped between the intellectual and the emotional. So your lesson or challenge is really saying, as you are becoming more authentic, you're starting to understand, you're listening more closely to other people. By your life, you're being inspirational to other people. It's now time to really focus on the things that you want to do. It's not about what other people are looking for, because other people are always going to have opinion about your life. Trust me on that. There's people that I know personally right now that, because I'm doing this, are strictly opposed, horrified by it. But do I let their decisions, their choices in life affect mine? No. You have your decisions, I have mine. And the Two of Winter is saying you're looking at things from this duality, which we're in a duality world. Positive, negative, masculine, feminine, light, dark, fire, water, earth, air. All of these things are imbalanced by pairs. But when you are split yourself, and you're not whole and you're not being authentic, it actually will weaken the good that you can do. So the indecision that they're talking about is, are you following your heart? Are you following your desires? And it doesn't mean you have to quit your job. I'm talking emotionally and mentally. If you're in a state where, I have to do this after work because other people are going to look at me and this is what they expect, you're doing it for the wrong reasons and you just need to stop. And this Two of Winter is coming forward to say, the him and haw thing of, well, I should, but I don't feel like it, or I don't feel inspired to work with this client, or it's okay to say no. And that's what this indecision is you don't want to say no because you think, because others have told you this, that you have to take every opportunity. No, you don't. You take the opportunities you're led to, you take the opportunities you're inspired with. And during this second week, you're listening deeply, you're understanding, but you're not becoming a doormat for other people. So that's the lesson or challenge for this third week or second week, is to listen, to understand, be inspirational, but also know where your borders and boundaries are. So let's look at your third week's guide or guardian. And if you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe and drop a like, just midstream here. Your third week's guide or guardian is manifestation. These angels help you create things within your life. So, the first week was understanding where you're at, your contentment, your peace, your joy. The second week was being inspirational, listening to other people at a deeper level, knowing your boundaries. This third week is as you start to work more authentically, as you start to discover where your boundaries are and you understand how you can help other people by living the life that you truly believe in, it's going to help you manifest more. And that could be manifesting something as simple as less traffic on your drive to work, or fewer emails that are just mess in your inbox. Manifestation is the creation of something. It's something you've been focusing on. It's something you've been working towards. It could be something as simple as an aha moment as you're working with your meditation work or your spiritual path. All of these things can be classified as manifestation because it's creating something. And so you're creating, but you're co-creating. You're working with your divine guides and your divine guardians. And the angels that are coming in this third week are all about helping you bring that stuff into your world better and more clearly, easily. They're going to, smooth the path out or give you the next steps. And your guide or guardian, I haven't seen this card before, sorry, your message from source is the Watchers, transpersonal. And the Watchers in biblical lore were creatures that were sent to observe. That's all they were meant to do. They were a class of angelic hierarchy, not true angels, but like something along those lines, spiritual, that were sent to guard and watch humanity. They're still there. I love people who tell me that, well, they were banished. No, they weren't. The ones that came down to earth with Nephilim, and that's a whole different branch of mythology, those ones were the ones that got in trouble, but the rest of them are still out there. And the Watchers are observing things from a non-personal state. They look at what's happening and observe. That is all they're doing. With manifestation, if you put too much emotion and you put too much need into it, or too much feeling of lack because you desire something so much, it actually will short circuit the process. So when you want something, you have to want it and let it go. In magical Wicca type circles, when they do a spell, they do a healing candle, things like that, they have the art of releasing. So you do your intention, you set everything up, you charge the candle, you burn the paper, whatever it is you're doing, and then you let it go. And after you leave the area where you did the ceremony, you don't think about it. You go do something else. Go watch a TV show that's funny, read a book, something to get your mind away from it, because once you work towards manifestation, you have to let it go once you set those intentions. If you put too much focus, you start to worry, you start to overthink, you start to basically dabble in, well, this is what my end goal is right here. What do I do here? No. You need to start with the next step, not the step just before you manifest. And if you focus on that, this path is so monumental that you can't actually do it. And that's how you feel about it. So when you work with manifestation, you set your big goal. This is the goal up here. And then you take, what's this next step? What's this next step? Okay, that's where I'm going to stay, is right here. And once I finish this step, then I can look to this one. So because I'm at this step now. And you just slowly work towards it. All of a sudden you have it and you don't realize that you've processed it. But that's where this concept of transpersonal, being a watcher, being separate from what you're working on. Set your intention, put all your emotion, the positive feelings, all those good things you're wanting to do in that moment, and then let it go. Step away, because the process will start to go because you've set it up and you've let it go into the universe. But if you keep taking it back, you're not making it transpersonal. You're not just observing the process. You're trying to manipulate it yourself. And micromanagement, tell me how that works at your job. It doesn't. So you're working with manifestation this week, and the message from Source is really about learn to set the intention, learn to work the emotion into the intention, and then let it go and observe. Your lesson or challenge for this third week is the Prince of Winter, intellectual, determined, focused, and impulsive. Seek out an intellectual solution to your problem, the need to act quickly and decisively, sudden or unexpected changes. That's the reason that you want to be disconnected from a manifestation. When you set your intentions and you do all the things, you want to let it go. Because if you don't, anything that happens in your day-to-day life, like you get done, you set that really cool intention, something unexpected calls, you get called into work early. Or your kid calls and they just got into a small fender bender. All that positive, if you're still focusing on the intention, all that positivity just crashed. So you have to learn to let it go because of these other things that come up in life. And that's what the Prince of Winter is saying is, being air, you're in your mind anyway. You want to work with intelligence. You want to work with logic. Although there is the downside, which is being flighty and spacey, you're really wanting to stay focused on just this one thing. But as you're doing that, other parts of life are going to come up and bump that. So you want to be able to separate yourself, do what you need to do and release it, and then go about your day-to-day life. That way you're not holding that intention constantly at the forefront of your mind, risking being too micromanaging of it. So let's look at the fourth week's guide or guardian. And this particular deck is very talkative most of the time. We have harmony and resolution. So you're really going back to a balanced state. You started off with joy and contentment, finding your peace as you go through life or go through that week. Then you've worked into listening deeply, where you're living a more true to yourself life and you're understanding other people better. Then you start to work in the third week with manifesting and really understanding more about how to manifest. And the fourth week, now it's into harmony. You've done a lot of prep work coming to this point. And now that you've set your intentions and you've let them go, you've taken the next steps, you're understanding how you can live a life as an example for others. This is going to bring that new peace, that new harmony. You're in the flow. You're in the vortex, as Abraham talks to Esther, Esther Hicks. You're in that flow state. That's where you find that harmony. You find that things are happening and you're involved. Your goal is still set out there, but you're not worried about the steps to it because you're doing the next step, and then you're going to do the next step. And that's where you're at. And as you're doing that, things are coming to their natural conclusions. You're bringing the manifestations into your life because you're going with the flow of life, which is not always easy to do. But that's where the angels of harmony and resolution are coming in for, is they're helping you understand how to process the flow of life a little bit more directly, more acutely, so it's more in line with what your intentions are. So your message from Source is heart, home, compassion. When you step into harmony and you step into that flow, your heart chakra, your heart energy will actually open up because you're connecting more into the flow of life, which is the flow of source energy. It's that flow of peace. It's that flow of happiness. But everything in this type of an environment, when you really get into the flow, you're not just in the flow of, well, this feels good. You're in the flow of love. Everything in life, literally, can be wrapped up into the energetic pattern of love. If you love something, if you're enjoying something, your heart is open to it, it's going to come to you faster. If you're not okay with it, you're something stressing you out, you're closing down that love ability, and it's pushing it away. Compassion is being able to be there for somebody, but not go down to their level. There's no benefit at all from going to a person's level. If they're depressed, you don't go to depression to help them. You stay up where you're at and you offer simple things to help. And sometimes it's just a simple being there in their presence. As long as you hold your compassion, hold your level, they will understand at a subconscious state most of the time. And by you being there as they're going through their trial, it's going to benefit them. But there is no benefit, just being very clear here, to going down to another person's level. Whether that's grief, depression, anger, frustration, any of those energies are lower frequency energies. And if you are in a flow state and you're up here, going down to them stops everything that you've been working on. So you want to hold on to your vibration and offer a vibrational stepladder, basically. That way they can choose it if they want the help. And sometimes their subconscious mind will reach out for the help and their conscious mind throws a fit. That's where you get into a little bit of, frustration and anger that can occur at those points. But if you're in the flow state, you'll understand that the anger is a lashing out of, I'm not ready to let this go yet. And they may not be, but you don't have to go down to their level to help them either. So your lesson or challenge is the star. Look to the future with hopes and optimism. Look, the power of faith to move mountains. Happy changes that bring relief from challenging times. And this goes along with the flow of this week, is you're really understanding that you're looking here. You're working towards this future manifestation. You've got this image in your mind. Does not mean that there won't be challenges along the way. But you have a goal and an aspiration that you're working towards, and you're putting positive thoughts forward. When you think about your intentions, you're always setting them up in a positive state. By the end of this year, I will be making $3 more an hour than what I was in 2022. Or by the end of this year, this person I'm dating will have deepened our relationship and we'll be going further. However it is coming forward for you, because when you have that faith, you know that it's already there. It's just a matter of getting out of your way and letting it come to you. It allows you to have a freedom. And the challenge is stay focused on that. Because other things in this world are going to kind of stir up a little bit. They might distract you, but stay focused on those overall goals so that you can actually manifest them in the appropriate time. So let's look at the 5th week and final week of May. We have power and intention. Your power is in this now moment. Your ability to wield that power is your intention. The angels that come forward with this And they're bringing the names Metatron and Sandalphon forward. And if you've not worked with them, they're worth working with. Their energy is so massive, but it's so peaceful and so quiet. That's a weird dichotomy, but they're massive energy angels, but it's a very positive, very helpful, healing angelic energy. This fifth week is talking about your ability to create the world that you want. And it doesn't mean you're going to have everything exact, because sometimes your subconscious mind is like, we can't go that direction. You in the conscious world have got some weird ideas and weird thoughts. But when you start to work in a more aligned state where you know who you are, which is kind of the theme of this month, you do start to understand manifestation in a much clearer way, and it allows you to bring that manifestation more into the now moment. That's where your power lies. This fifth week's angels and guides are coming forward to say the future is what we are constantly all creating in a different way. On a quantum level, though, the future doesn't truthfully exist. You're setting up these images that you're working towards, which is great, but your power is in the now moment. Those intentions are you're putting down the base coat of a painting. Each time you take another step, you're putting another layer of paint on. You're adding another more depth. Watch Bob Ross. He starts off with a whiteboard, adds some color, and he builds the image out. And he has an image in here, which is your intention. But you have to build those layers to build it. And that's what they're saying is in the now moment is where your power is. And so you have to understand how you're building what it is you're working on. And you might get halfway through and be like, I don't like this, and maybe recoat an entire section of it. That's fine. But that's where your power lies, is in the now moment. And your message from source is in the hand. The universe is your partner. So going along with that, as you start to understand more about your energy, your power, your ability to create is in this moment, this now moment. You are lining up, you're tapping more into that harmony energy of being in line with the universe. As long as you're working towards a positive outcome, you're working towards a positive goal, the universe is going to line up in your favor. God Source Divine Energy is very positive, and it wants to help you succeed. It's not going to give you something that is going to give you power over someone else that you're going to abuse, because that does happen. Some people have those intentions. There are darker energies out there, and that's where that will tend to lead. But when you're really focusing on developing your spiritual path, you're working on developing some way of supporting others, you start to get into that holding hands with the universe. The footprints in the sand is a great image of that, because there's times where you're walking along and all of a sudden you look back and you're like, why is there only one set? That's when the universe, God Source Energy, carries you through those harder periods where you're not sure if you're going to make it. Depression, frustration, job changes, things like that. But on the other side of that, you did make it. And that's what being in that harmony flow is. You're still co-creating, but you're doing it at a different level. So the last lesson or challenge here is the Princess of Spring. Optimistic, enthusiastic, creative, energetic. It's time to go after your dreams, do something that expands your horizons, and let your creativity take flight. So for your fifth message, or lesson or challenge, I should say, it's as you're going through this manifestation, holding that positive energy, holding on to that peace, holding on to that center of knowing who you are is the challenge for this fifth week. Because when you start understanding that your power is in this moment, you're working in line with the universe, it can be a little intimidating when you first start practicing this. But the Princess of Spring is saying, it's okay, we're all working together, we're all going to have hiccups, it's part of life, it's that roller coaster of life, ups and downs. So work towards the positive as much as you can. When you trip, get up further ahead than where you were. That way you're constantly building on the failures, and because there's no such thing as a genuine failure unless you quit. When you stop working on a project because it's taken its natural course and there's no way for it to benefit you further, that's not quitting, that's accepting that lesson is over and now I'm moving on. That's a growth, and that's what you're working with in this process. So hopefully these messages resonated for you, air signs and air energy. With that, we will get ready to hop off here. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like on it. Please subscribe if you're new here, and drop comments, suggestions, or even criticisms, as long as they're respectful. That's all I ask for. I think we can all use more respect in our worlds. So I will talk to you guys later, and have an awesome month of May.